Welcome back, dear students. This is Aiswani Chakraborty from Swami Vivekananda Institute of Science and Technology, and today's lesson will be on information designing. Now, let us discuss what is information design. Information design is the practice of presenting information in a way that makes it most accessible and easily understood by the users. Information design is targeted to specific audiences in specific situations to meet defined objectives. Information design is all about presenting information in a way that's very easy to understand. It is a subsection of graphic design related specially to displaying information effectively and stylishly. It can include facts, figures, stories, even sound and scent as part of its information sharing capabilities. Now, information design can be of multiple types. For example, in our daily life, we come across lots of leaflets, information booklets, brochures, flyers, and even presentation requires information design. Now, there are two things that are to be specifically kept in mind while designing information. First of all, the target audience. Design your information in such a way that it suits your targeted audience. Secondly, whatever you design, it should be very much understandable, effectively and stylishly. Okay, moving to the next topic. What is effective information design? Now, in the previous slide, we have talked about information design, but what makes it more effective? Information designing applies to a broad range of applicability, from street signs to websites to restaurant menus. Effective information design, however, shares common characteristics and objectives. Now let us discuss that. First of all, information design helps people navigate and understand the increasingly complex world of facts, figures, directions, and demands. Secondly, it helps users to finish a task, solve a problem, or meet an end. Thirdly, it minimizes or eliminates frustrations related to time management, organization, etc. Fourthly, it begins and ends with understanding the people who will use the content, definitely your target audience, and making sure that the content and its presentation and delivery serve them adequately. Now let's talk about the information designing process. Each information design process is unique in its own way. Factors like budget, timeline, user needs, and business requirements will influence the process. The infographic below shows what the information design process is like in a broader sense. Step 1, planning the information. Whatever information that you have gathered to present, you have to plan it accordingly. Secondly, planning the entire project. Third, selecting the content, organizing it, and thereafter designing pages or screen that suits the demand. Third, drafting and testing. Once you have selected and organized your information, you have made a clear draft of it. After the draft is prepared, now you can test it to suit the requirements. Lastly, producing the final copy. Once the drafting and testing is done, you can make the necessary changes and produce the final copy of the information design. Now, if you are to design an information, or rather information in the plural sense, there are few things that we need to understand. First of all, you have to answer the question of what. What to design, selecting the content, how to do it, like the what of the problem. First of all, we have to understand the situation that you need to solve. Now, how do we do it? First of all, start from the beginning. Consider the full scope of possible information design problems. Secondly, diverge. Remember the wide range of possible information design solutions. Number 3, think thoroughly. Spend the necessary time on conceptual design. 4. Be open. Pay attention to the indicators of inadequate frames. Fifthly, support ideas. Do not make any hasty or arbitrary decision. Number 6, plan first. Select the appropriate method and procedures. Number 7, be well prepared. Adapt a method and apply a rigor during all stages of the problem-solving process. Number 8, brainstorm. Share and discuss initial ideas with colleagues without converging. Now coming to the question of why, understand the reasons that originated that situation. First of all, gain full understanding. Explore the problem from multiple angles. Number 10, unravel the problem. Expand your knowledge by investigating all aspects of the problem. Number 11, stop and think. Take your time, make time for the designing process, reflect and analyze the incoming information and identify the gaps. Number 12, think backward. Review previous experiences and similar cases and see if any prior knowledge may be of any help in the current situation. In that case, you have to look into the past, think backward, review everything. This is vital to your information designing process. Number 13, check for recurrent mistakes. Revise mistakes you have made in previous similar situations to avoid going on that same road again. Understanding the who, that is your intended or targeted audience. Investigate. Expand your initial knowledge about the audience. Suppose you are preparing a brochure for kids. So your language, your content should be best suited for them. If you are preparing something for more advanced or aged customers, clients or audience, then your information designing should be based on your understanding of that particular class or age. Number 15, interact with involved parties. Learn as much as you can about all parties involved in the project. Now this is very important when you actually interact with your client or the involved parties. Then only you will be able to understand their requirements, their perception about the project, and thereafter you can plan the entire information designing. Number 16, ask questions. Gather as much information as you can to get familiar with the intended audience. 17, analyze learnings. Identify the audience's needs and requirements and identify your gaps of knowledge. This is of utmost importance. Bridging the gap of knowledge solves a lot of problem. So analyze your learnings and try to gap every problem that occurs. Any gap in your understanding, in your planning must be bridged before the final production. Number 18, ask for more questions. Gather more information to fill those gaps. There is always room to learn more. Number 19, empathize. Put yourself in your audience's shoes and then only you will be able to understand their ideas, their demands and their knowledge. Now how? Answering the question of how, understand the ways the solution can be developed. We have already discussed the what, who and finally we come to how. Number 20, think visually. Internalize and visualize your learnings. Number 21, code information. Create a visual coding system and an information hierarchical structure to help your understanding. Next up, filter the information. Select only the relevant content and leave any irrelevant information because that is only going to confuse you and your audience. Number 23, organize learnings. Prioritize usefulness over pettiness. Whatsoever you find useful, prioritize them, organize them based on that. Number 24, apply learnings. Develop well-conceived solutions. Number 25, choose wisely. Use appropriate visual language. Whatever you choose, the language, the information, the graphs, charts, images, specimens, whatsoever you choose, it has to be appropriate. Number 26, experiment. Explore and try different options until you find the one you feel address the points it's need to. So unless and until you finally find the actual outcome, unless and until you produce the actual outcome, try and experiment. Consider function first. The initial focus should be on function rather than form. This means that instead of making the design very pretty, stylish, focus on its function. Ask yourself if your information design justifies the function. If yes, then you can definitely proceed with that. Number 28, test solution usability. Evaluate how the solution is described and used by its intended audience. Number 29, test solution relevance. Evaluate whether the solution addresses the intended goals and adds clarity to the problem. Now this is a very vital step. You have to continue with experiments and reevaluation unless and until your information design actually addresses the solution and achieves the intended goals. Number 30, revise the solution. While testing the relevance, if you find any emerging changes and that needs improvement, then you can definitely go with that. Number 31, think laterally. Consider having to rethink the solution. You have to keep learning, unlearning and relearning every time you design something. So once you're done with that, think laterally, consider having to rethink the solution, redo it, whatever it requires to produce the final outcome. Number 32, stand for your ideas. Present your ideas confidently and explain them with simple, clear language, but with no arrogance. That's all for today. I hope this was helpful. We are going to continue the lesson in future.